Start this recording. All right, hello everyone. This is a new format. I'm here with Joe in person live.
What up? This is Joseph and Anthony from Transcending Average. So, as I've posted on this channel a whole bunch of times, you've seen the totality of my 21-day water fast. And with that, a lot of people talk about, and they bring up points mentioning that you lose muscle, it's unhealthy, and everything, you name it. You probably have a lot of doubt yourself. So now I actually have a before and after of both right before my fast started and approximately about 2 or 3 weeks after I finished. And just for specification, the reason why I waited 3 weeks is so that way when I get back on my lifting routine and start eating again to see how my body recomps. Because the belief when you fast is essentially that when you fast, you lose the muscle and it's gone. You don't regain it. So, proof's in the pudding, no pun intended. We have it both right here.
So, okay, let's break this part first. So what do you got? So why don't you start with your weight?
All right. So the starting metrics are, this scan was done about a week before the fast started, and I weighed a total mass of 244 pounds. And out of that weight, 181.1 pounds were lean mass, and I had 54.2 pounds of fat mass. And that's the total of fat. So now, 3 weeks after the fast, we will see what it is. So 3 weeks after the fast, I'm actually only 9 pounds lighter, technically, at 235.4 pounds. So it may seem like I didn't lose a lot of weight, but if you look at my fat mass, I'm now at 36.7 pounds of fat. So I lost 18 pounds of fat. And in addition to that, the worry about muscle loss is that before the fast, before not eating for 3 weeks, and I literally mean not eating, I was drinking water and taking supplements essentially, I now went up 9 pounds of lean mass. So before the fast, I was 181.1 pounds of lean mass to 190.1 pounds. And now this is obviously with vigorous lifting and eating clean.
Again, this isn't medical advice. Anything that we say, you should check in with your doctors or professional specialists or medical specialists. But nonetheless, it's still really interesting to see the results that you got. We have all the metrics here. So how long was the fast?
The fast, it was initially intended to go for 30 days, but I decided to stop at 21 because there's, I was starting to get adverse side effects, which is always you have to be careful with.
Right. I mean, every single time. So this isn't the first time you've done a prolonged fast. Yeah. And every time around, I would say the 21 mark.
Yes.
Or like that 20-day mark.
Yeah.
That's the last week where things start getting really iffy.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
So,
because if somebody actually decides to try this at some point,
yeah,
it's good that they know where they're going to struggle or start seeing some weird results the most.
Yeah. I'll eventually be creating a course in the future about a total complete program of how to do this safely, again, on your own volitional choice. But the caveat is that you need to understand about fasting is that if we weren't meant not to eat, we would not develop fat tissue. Fat tissue, by definition of what it is to store fat. So that way, in the event you do not have food, you could burn it for energy. And the thing is that the way we evolved, we did not evolve to be eating around the clock. And now we live in a society where we can go to Stop and Shop at 3 a.m. and buy a feast. So it's imperative that fasting, at least intermittently, is included in your diet because there are systems in place and hormones and whatnot that are activated when you stop eating. So for background as to why I decided to do this is that my health was on a decline for about 1.5 years because I went out drinking every weekend. I was eating fast food. I treated my health and my body like complete utter garbage. And I wanted to get back using the knowledge I already knew in shape. I decided that fasting was the best way to do that. And there's a lot of detail I can go into, which, I'll do in future videos. But essentially, there are things like, I'll give one example. Autophagy is a major factor. And when you stop eating, glucagon goes up when insulin signaling goes down. And that's the catabolism where you'll start self-eating. That's not muscle, though. That's going to be fat tissue if you have it, and you are going to burn through all that until you go through until you get to a low enough point where you're in essentially a starving state. And the second note, leading on from what I mentioned about autophagy, would be the fact that autophagy is a state of cellular cleaning or recycling. So if you have things like cancer cells, bacterial, fungal, mold, yeast infection, any type of misfolded protein or protein-related damage, plaquing in your arteries or alkaloid plaquing in your brain, scar tissue, all of those cells will quite literally be destroyed and rejuvenated into the working condition. Now, the problem is when you eat too much and you eat too frequently, you never activate these systems because you don't fast. So that's why I made my choice to actually use it as a way to boost fat, of course, but also heal a lot of damage I had from drinking so heavily.
I mean, yeah, that is essentially why you first made the decision to fast even in the first place. You wanted to let your body have a complete reset and function optimally again.
Definitely.
Now, I find really interesting. You should talk about your mass ratios between your arms, so your fat mass, because that saw a significant difference, correct, from the first time to the second time?
Yeah, from the first to the second time.
Let's see if it actually was.
Oh, and on another note, I'll mention while I was looking at that is my visceral fat. Visceral fat is essentially the fat tissue that is developed on your liver and around your organs when you have spillover.
That was another thing I wanted to talk about. So you have your ratios here.
Yeah. So according to the graphs up here, now ultimately you shouldn't have visceral fat in your body. It's unhealthy and it's not supposed to be there. Fat is supposed to be stored subcutaneously, not inside and between your organs and spilling over your liver. That's unhealthy. The only reason why you have that is from things like alcoholic fatty liver disease and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Not to say that if you have visceral fat that you have that condition, but it leads to that condition.
They're associated with each other usually, more often than not.
Yeah. So the ideal range for a human to be in is 0.00 to 52.00 in terms of your visceral fat mass. And quite frankly, I don't know exactly what that means. I think it goes based off of the inches and volume of the visceral fat mass in your gut, but I don't know. Increased high risk is 52.15 to 112.10, and at risk very high is 112.10 plus. So when I began the fast, I had a 0.78 fat mass in pounds. So that's about 3/4 of a pound of fat viscerally inside my liver and between my organs. And after not eating for 3 weeks, that went down. And to be clear, that put me in, actually, I was in the healthy range, ironically, but I don't believe there's any really healthy range for it. But anyways, it went from 0.78 to 0.07. So that quite literally dropped by, I don't know, percentages. A lot of percentages.
So look, I pull a pause on that because I actually realized we went completely off topic. So talk about why you stopped at 21 days opposed to going forward.
So the reason why I stopped at 21 days, and he's right, that's actually pretty important to know. The reason why I stopped at 21 days is because fasting is healthy, and I took my own risk through my own will because I believe that I have enough knowledge to be able to do it safely and know when to stop. 30 days is a goal for the sake of vanity, really. And when I reached 21 days, I started to develop like almost a rash.
That was weird.
I actually don't know what it is. There are signs of certain deficiencies, like I forget exactly. There's a B vitamin deficiency. It's associated with red scaly skin and a few other things. I have to look back into it. I can't quite remember. But I wasn't exactly sure where it is or what causes it. And
it's lasted a while too.
Yeah, no, it's literally still here.
Like how long?
It's been over 3 weeks.
Yeah,
or just about 3 weeks.
Slightly there.
It's still slightly there. It was actually really uncomfortable, super dry. But with that being the case, I decided to cut it short because I realized I did what I needed to do because my diet is so clean now that I didn't need to continue fasting because I knew what I was going to eat afterwards. The food that I'm eating is going to continue to give me the results I want to see, because ultimately I want to rebound and have better athletic performance. So realistically, after 3 weeks of not eating, I healed probably an extreme amount of damage that I did to my body. And now that I'm eating clean foods, it's still going to continue the process of healing as well as rebuilding stronger.
I do want to say too, whenever you are implementing fasting in any sort of degree, whether it's intermediate fasting, whether it's prolonged fasting, no matter what, you have to really pay attention to the certain effects and the differences you feel in your body. Like, for example, Joe, around 21 days, he started getting this scaly, rashy type of feeling on his hands. Now, he needed to make a decision on whether or not he was going to continue or he was going to adjust. And a lot of fasting is adjusting between your supplements, between how much electrolytes you're taking in, between your exercise, if you decide to exercise while fasting. So you have to be very, very conscientious of where you feel your body's going and how you are getting sort of how you're reacting to it. So you have to completely be focused, and that's why it's not for everybody to fast, because not many people know what they're doing. Joe said it earlier, he has the knowledge, he has the experience.
Yeah.
So it's easier for him to pull the plug and just go in as the vanguard and just destroy a 21-day fast and make it look easy. But it really is hard. Like it's difficult. It's not easy.
Well, the thing is, it's literally all mental, because if you're going into, like, if someone who's watching this, for example, decided to, and again, I'm not recommending you do this at all by any means, because chances are, like, it's risky if you don't know what you're doing. You have to be very careful.
They hit day 3 and pass out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are so many factors they have to be aware of. It just so happens I've obsessively watched so many videos and read so many books on these things that I could literally know when a symptom comes up and what it is and what it means. And that's how I adjust it. But the thing that's important also is that if you do a fast, you may think that you're a fasting expert because you make it 7 days. But the problem is that as you go on farther, you deplete nutrients even more. And if you're a bigger person, chances are you have more nutrients that you have stored in your fat tissue. That doesn't account for zinc. That doesn't account for B vitamins or vitamin C, water-soluble vitamins, minerals, electrolytes. You don't know what you're going to run into. So what I've noticed for my own body personally is, because again, as he mentioned, I did it before. I did make it 30 days prior. Not recently. This was over a year ago. And I noticed even before at that last time that I pushed myself past about 20 or 21 days, but it actually became borderline impossible. And I realized that I think that the limit for my body that I just cannot pass is that max 3 weeks until I start getting diminishing returns. Because the reason why I stopped this time as well is not just because of this. This was definitely a factor. So I'm like, all right, like I can't. I also started getting heavy mood swings. You know what I mean? I was getting like very anxious, very depressed. Then I'd be like really happy. My moods were not consistent.
There was one night you called me and you seemed very anxious.
I was freaking out. And so I realized, I'm like, you know what? I just need to stop. This is the point where I end it. So those are all factors that you need to take into consideration.
Is there any metrics you had to go over left in this chart?
I mean,
that you feel are important for people to know? Because I don't really know as much as you do on the metrics side. I don't know what I'm looking at half the time.
As far as the metrics go, what I will say that I guess the last thing I'll mention as far as this goes, that's worth mentioning is the fact that I rebounded. I not only maintained the previous lean body mass that I had prior, but I also gained 9 pounds. So what's significant about that is that people have the belief that when you fast, especially for a long period of time, that you will lose muscle. It's not true at all. That will only happen, literally, that will only happen if you are already like very lean. If you have a lot of excess body fat, and I'm talking like over 15%, like you're 16, 17, 18, 30% body fat, you're not going to lose any muscle because your body doesn't want to lose muscle. It helps you survive. You built it because your body realized that in the environment, under the stresses it was in, it needed it to survive and adapt. The reason why you have fat is so that way you use fat calories. Fat is literally utterly useless in your body unless you actually need it. So you're going to burn through that first. Then once you start, like for example, Matt is 11% or something body fat. If he tried to do a 21-day water fast, I'd be burying him in 2 weeks because he has no fat. He'd just start burning muscle because he's at that level where his body can't sacrifice any of it. But I was at 22%. So it was easy for my body to make that transition.
I can feel in the force a lot of pushback will come from that statement.
Oh, 100%. No, absolutely. No.
I feel it. I can feel it.
Well, guess what? So to all the haters that's going to comment on this video, guess what? I gained 9 pounds of muscle 3 weeks after stopping a 21-day water fast. I'm 9 pounds heavier than what I started with.
Yeah, that is pretty. Yeah. That is pretty significant.
Exactly. So look, the proof's in the pudding. I have 2 DEXA scans before, after. It proves that if you do things correctly, that's the key word, correctly, and you know what you're doing, fasting is, I'm going to say, quote unquote, not bad for you. Because I'm not going to make like a statement saying it's good for you, because it depends. If you go in here and you're an alcoholic and you have like nutritional stores, fasting's probably going to be the worst thing ever. But if you're a moderately healthy person, you just have body fat to lose, and you pay attention to your nutrients, maybe if you don't know what you're doing, be supervised by an expert or a doctor. Like, go for it. I mean, the longest fast I was ever recorded was like 382 days straight, no eating. It was Angus Barbieri, I think his name was, and this was in like 1968. So it is natural.
Angus.
Yeah, Angus beef.
Wait, what?
No, it's a joke.
Hold on. So now that you're done with the fast, now that you lost the weight, now that you basically are in a good standpoint and you're setting yourself up to build back up, I think the biggest thing that I noticed with you and the difference, and I do want to talk about here, is your change in the way you eat, your nutrients.
Oh yeah.
Like you completely changed your philosophy on eating, which it's affected my eating too. Don't get me wrong. Like everything that he's been doing, I've just been kind of copying, and I feel significant differences too. Your philosophy on eating and the way you've just been eating in total. Like, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I'll start by saying that. I got a lot of my information. There's many sources, but one main source that I was consistent with was following Dr. Eric Berg on YouTube, and with his ketogenic dieting. But one thing I noticed about the ketogenic dieting, at least for myself, is that you could feel I don't feel any better on a keto diet. In fact, I would say I feel worse. I'd feel better if I wasn't eating keto, I was eating McDonald's, obviously.
Well, that depends though. It's like, I know what you're trying to say. It's like when you're on keto, you feel good, but you get to a point where you're kind of sluggish.
Yeah.
You get to a lethargic place where you can't do things prolonged, especially intense activity.
Yeah.
Lifting weights is hard.
Exactly. No, yeah. Like you can't, there are some days you look at the squat rack, you just sit there and you're just like, can't do it.
Yeah. You stare at that fucker for 40 minutes.
Yeah. So the premise and the idea is that, especially in the West, is that we have an epidemic of obesity, and people, they don't have, first of all, they don't have nutritional know-how. I mean, the U.S. government, watch, now I'm going to, the FBI is going to come raid my house.
You're going to get us canceled. Come on now.
Well, all I'm going to say is that the U.S. government just released the new dietary guidelines, and you guys could decide for yourself what you think about this.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
But according to their guidelines, it is healthier to eat Lucky Charms rather than whole eggs and beef.
Was it Lucky Charms?
It was Lucky Charms, right?
Yep, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms cereal.
We got
Think about that.
Chapter in the back.
You eat processed grains with marshmallows, and it's healthier than eggs. All right, so I'll go into the philosophy quick of how I look at this. We evolved over millions of years as a species. And you mean to tell me that in the past 3,500 years, when we started domesticating grains, really, in, I don't know much. Now, there's going to be some anthropologist that told us, actually, we whatever.
I'm going to get a paragraph in the comments getting just destroyed.
Okay. All I'm going to say is that I turned my focus on a guy named Paul Saladino. Paul Saladino initially followed a strict nose-to-tail carnivore diet until about a year and a half to 2 years in. He started experiencing electrolyte imbalance where he had horrible cramps at night, sleep disturbances, couldn't do intense exercise without cramping. So what he started doing, and in fact, in his blood work, the blood work was good, but his sex hormone binding globulin was through the roof, binding up all his excess free testosterone, which is terrible if you're trying to be an athlete because you're trying to build extra muscle and athletic prowess. And so he started incorporating raw unpasteurized organic honey, local honey. And he started incorporating different types of fruits, all organic stuff, by the way. So there's no pesticides in it. And in addition to his carnivore diet, and even things like maple syrup. obviously, I don't think they pasteurize it, but organic maple syrup. Basically, everything that he eats is directly from nature in a whole food source that would be consistent with how human beings actually evolved to eat. These would be the things that for most of our evolution we would find and eat as hunter-gatherers.
Yeah. So there's nothing. So again, like I was doing low carb and I was doing ketogenic for a while, and I lost some weight. It was good, but it was hard to keep up with like the cardio training from mixed martial arts, MMA. It was hard even to do really intense lifts and explosive exercises. So it's like it's good for a short amount of time to kind of cut some weight down. But one of the biggest things I noticed too that people complain about is they do keto, and you've heard this too, and then they lose a bunch of weight and they bounce right back when they get off of keto, bounce back, and they end up gaining more weight than they were when they started.
Yeah.
So what you kind of discovered with this fast and not doing keto this time around is you went into more of Paul's philosophical way of eating,
which is really significant.
And I started doing it too, and it is much, much better. I feel fantastic. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. I also with myself, well, first off, to say one thing about keto dieters and how they always will rebound and gain weight, because keto and low carb gets a bad rep of that. First of all, yes, you will regain weight, especially if you add in carbohydrates, because I'm assuming if you get off keto, that obviously means you're going to be eating carbs. You're going to gain a lot of water weight. You're going to gain 10, maybe 20 pounds at most. 20 pounds is a little excessive, but 20 pounds of
we all know they get off keto and they eat pasta. We all know.
Exactly. Well, we've done it like 80,000 times.
We all know.
But the thing is that, you could see through blood work that you have your thyroid slow down, you have sex hormone binding globulin go up. These aren't good things. I mean, if sex hormone binding globulin is going up, I'm not an expert. I'm totally going to get butchered here. Take it with a grain of salt. I am fairly certain that your libido actually goes down. If your libido goes down as a result of doing low carb, what that actually says evolutionarily is saying we are in a stressful situation in our environment because we need carbs physiologically, and we are going to lower the drive to reproduce so you can literally kill off the humans in that area. That is literally what biological evolution is saying, if that is the case. I could be wrong. I'm sure there are people on carnivore diet who are very aggressively horny all the time, but you know what? I wasn't one of those people. So to me, I had a negative effect. So yeah.
Good.
So anyways, to go over the diet of what I'm doing is that I eat whole fruits. I do everything organic, or at least as much as I possibly can. I would say 99% of everything I eat is organic. So first, I'll go into why, because people don't understand the importance of organic.
Well, you want to be aggressively horny.
I want to be aggressively horny, yes. So so there are compounds. So for example, if you have commercial milk, it's going to be filled with, first of all, the milk of sick cows that are on tons of antibiotics to keep them alive, that are pumped with estrogen, and you are going to drink the estrogen in the milk. They're going to be eating grains. Cows aren't meant to eat grains. They're meant to eat grass, that are also filled with pesticides that they use to grow the grains. They're also probably going to feed them lots of soy, which is also estrogenic. So you're going to drink that in your milk. And also, all that food is going to be sprayed in glyphosate, which is a endocrine disruptor, which literally means that if you have the estrogen receptor here, and this is estrogen and it fits in, and it causes, let's say, tissue growth. Well, let's say that it's slightly different. This is glyphosate. It still fits in the receptor. So your body thinks it's estrogen. So you literally grow man boobs if you drink the stuff.
You were just a book. You know what? You can just go in on this.
I'm obsessive.
I feel like I'm just here, man, sometimes when we're talking about some of this stuff.
Well, I'm just obsessive. But anyways, that's why you should do organic and get like non-GMO, all that stuff. It's expensive, so do what you can. There's, obviously.
Yeah. So anyway, so you implemented honey. You implemented this new discovery of like milk and how to drink it correctly. You implemented fruits. You said you implemented. Obviously, you're still eating meat. No shit.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, we said syrup, which was weird. That is a strange.
Yeah. I basically.
You haven't really been counting your calories though either.
Not really. I plug them in, but I would say I'm between 2,000 and 2,500 consistently.
And you kept a lot of the leanness from you're lean from the fast.
Yeah.
And you look like your size has gone crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you. But what I will, for the people who are curious, Because people always think of calories in, calories out. That is theoretically true, but what determines how many calories you expend is going to be the quality of the calories that you actually take in. If you're eating McDonald's or you're eating Twinkies, okay, yeah, you'll lose weight if you're in a caloric deficit, but you're going to feel horrible and you're probably not going to lose as much weight as if you're eating clean.
Yeah.
Imagine it like you're driving a car. Let's say you go to a gas station, there's a ton of dirt in this gas. And so whenever you pump your gas tank, there's going to be dirt in your gas tank. And then there's another place down the street that your friend gets gas at that doesn't. Whose car is going to last longer? Okay, well, let's say theoretically they both run, right? Well, eventually the guy is going to have a horribly running car if there's dirt in his gas tank. So the idea here is that if you eat clean, whole foods that are as they are in nature, even if you eat in excess of calories, first of all, your athletic performance and your athletic performance,
your output is better.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Your output is better, and you could do more and train harder, so you'll burn more calories. And in general, when everything is running efficiently and better, you have a normal thyroid, your hormones are normal because you're getting in all the nutrients that you need. You're going to be able to develop the physique you want and get healthy. Because also, and I really could just ramble on here. I mean,
it don't matter. You can ramble as long as you want. You know, the idea is too, it's like, as you're saying, if you keep eating, even if you eat an excess amount of these types of foods, organic, and you are, let's say you eat a shit ton of it. Again, now I know we're kind of talking to more people that are going to be exercising like hard and more intense. I'm not talking to the average person sitting on the couch all day. It's going to be better for them to eat this way, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But for people that work out intensely, for athletes, people that are training hard, if they eat an excessive amount of these foods, you're going to notice that you're just going to put that extra little bit in the gym and you're going to burn through those calories so much quicker. It's not even matter. I've lost weight. Like I've lost weight eating way more calories of this type of food.
Exactly.
Because I'm training harder and my output's better and I put on more muscle mass. It's crazy. And of course, you did the fast, again, just to reiterate, to have that fresh start because you were you were binge drinking, your hormones were not in a solid place.
That's another great thing about fasting is that when you fast, especially now, I'm not talking about like a 16-hour fast. I'm talking like a prolonged fast of like probably at least 10 days. When you have a hard reset on your body like that, is that it cleans out so much and everything gets in a balance. Because essentially, I'd say the easiest hormone to get out of balance are estrogen because of all the stuff that's in the food commercially, and insulin because of how much it spikes in your blood sugar. Those are going to be the two biggest things. Me and Anthony here were actually talking recently about how our friend Matt, who you will meet soon enough, looks like quite literally a Greek god naturally. It's pretty unfair. And we just look like some Europeans that would come off a longboat in Iceland.
Well, that's genetics.
And it's genetics, right? Now, we are wondering, because the natural human physique is supposed to be probably lean, 10 to 12% body fat naturally. That only changed because of the food we're eating.
Well, we also know there are different body types. There's mesomorph, endomorph, and there's another one.
There are, true.
Of course. Like that plays a factor in how you sculpt up and down.
Yeah.
But you're right. The food has completely disrupted our natural ability to look a specific way based on our genetics and to sculpt up appropriately with the way we're supposed to look. Healthy, you know?
Yeah, I'd say that one of the final things I'll mention here, because the video is getting pretty long.
Well, I want to stop at 30 seconds.
Yeah. So the final things that I'll mention is your food that you eat is a direct reflection of your body. So exactly, it's a mirror image. Mm-hmm. When we evolved throughout hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of years, however long it's been, we have been eating whole foods, which means that our body evolved and looked the way it does as a result of eating those foods specifically. When you veer off from eating those foods, you will no longer mirror what we evolved to mirror. We will evolve into something else. That's why everyone is getting fat. So if you eat whole foods and eat the things consistent with what we evolved with, we will be healthier.
Does that mean we'll look like syrup in a couple months?
It will. And now I'll just literally riddle off like a couple things that I recommend that if you decide to do this, that you should get. So cool things to get raw milk, get kefir, get some syrup, get some raw and pasteurized honey, get some fruit, obviously all organic. Get organ meats like liver, beef heart, kidney if you're into that. If you really want to eat testicles, I do not want to eat testicles.
We have not eaten testicles.
We're not going to eat testicles.
We might eat testicles.
Unless Liver King comes to my house. Liver King, if you watch this for some reason, mail me some testicles.
Bring the testicles.
Bring it. And so I would say that those overall are some good things. So anyways, that's where I'll leave it. And we'll wait for an update.
Can't wait for somebody to cut me saying, bring the testicles.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. So great.